In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a data table. The data table can be used to do what-if analysis. Let's just say that we were wanting to look at different variable interest rates for this loan calculator. The loan calculator was set up to figure payments for a house, and the variable interest rate, or the interest rate to start with, was at 5%. Let's say we were wanting to look at if there was some fluctuation in the interest rate, how that would impact our payments and the total cost of the loan and the interest. I set up part of the starting point of the data table, and basically in column D I want to create the interest rate variable. So I've typed the starting point for the interest rates. Instead of typing all the different interest rates, what you can do is you can create a series of numbers and use the fill handle to create the series for you to save a little bit of time. So I typed 3.50% to start with, and let's say I was going to look at fluctuations of 1/4 of a percentage point. So I'm going to type 3.75%. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to select the two rates that I had typed in, or the two numbers that I had typed. I'm going to grab the black box, which is the fill handle, and I'm going to fill handle down, and I'm just going to go up to 7%. So we're looking at possibility of a low of 3.5% and a high of 7%. And we all know mortgage rates can fluctuate, so I'm just using that as just a starting point for this what-if analysis. After we've done that, what we need to do is try to tie the two tables together, link the tables together. So I'm going to come up to E2, type the equal sign. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click on B8, which is where my initial payment was in my loan calculator. Hit the enter key, and basically that amount is transferred over to the data table that I'm building. I'm going to go over to column F. I'm going to go to F2, type equal, and then I'm going to go over and I'm going to click on the total cost. Hit the enter key, same thing, hold the total cost over. We do the last column, I'm going to grab the interest rate, type an equal sign again, click on the total interest, hit the enter key, and I've got my total interest pulled over to give me my starting point for my data table. Next thing I'm going to do to create the data table is I'm going to highlight the information that will be part of my data table. Now notice I did not include the labels at the top row, in the top row of the table. If you do that, your data table will not come out correctly, so just want to caution you there. So I grabbed the amounts that I had basically linked together with my loan calculator, and I grabbed highlighted my interest rates. I'm going to go to the data ribbon. The data table command is a what-if analysis tool, and you'll find it over here under the what-if analysis. I'm going to click on data table, and at this point you have two choices, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the column input cell. The reason that I'm going to the column input cell is that basically we have our table set up in column format. Our interest rate that we're looking at to create the what-if analysis table is set up in a column. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and I'm going to click on B6, which is where the interest rate is in the initial loan calculator, my first table. Notice when I did that, the cell reference is written for me, B6, and it does have the dollar signs in it, indicating that it's going to be an absolute cell reference. I typically use the point mode, which is where you click on a cell to put the cell reference in, and that'll help. If you do that, when you're using these dialog boxes, it'll indicate the type of cell reference that needs to be used. In this case, it's an absolute cell reference. I'm going to go ahead and do OK. And it goes through and does the what-if analysis, creates the data table for us automatically. At that point, my numbers are kind of hard to read with the formatting that they do not have, so I'm going to go to my home ribbon and I'm going to click on, I'll just use the comma style, it'll put commas in the number and it'll add decimal places to the number. I could have added the accounting format too to add the dollar signs, but just to simplify the readability, I just added the commas to it. And we have the data table created for us. One thing I wanted to point out too is that you cannot use the undo command once you've created a data table. Now I can undo what I just did, and click up here and do undo. That undoes the formatting that I just applied. But notice here my undo command is ghosted out, so I can't step back. So if you do make a mistake with your data table, and that does happen, what you need to do is you should come up to the top, highlight the columns where the data table was created, and you would right click and you would delete those particular columns. I don't have to delete what's in this first column because you'll notice that's data that I basically typed or filled in using the fill handle. When I come over and I look at the cell references, for example in E3, this is what is put into the formula bar when you create the data table using the data table command. So again, just pointing out, if you make a mistake you can't undo. You'd need to go and delete the columns where you have the data table command or function, and then you'd have to start the table all over again.